This is the Anything Goes Project video stream. Please be patient, the show will begin momentarily. Remember, the show can be reached via email at stalkermailbox@gmail.com, or simply call in and leave us a voicemail at 361-433-5739. If you like the show, please subscribe and leave us a rating. This helps the show to be seen. More video streams can be found on the Anything Goes Project YouTube channel. To help the show, subscribe and like the channel. The Anything Goes Project can be found on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Castbox, Stitcher Radio, or anywhere you get your podcast media from. You're listening to the Anything Goes Project. Interesting topics, interesting things. Real stories by real people. Your host is Mike. The Anything Goes Project is a production of M&C Designs. Be advised, this show may not be suitable for all ages. Many of the topics are for mature audiences only. The explicit tag is there for a reason. If you would like to contact the show, email us at stalkermailbox@gmail.com, or leave us a message at 361-433-5739. And now, on with the show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mike with the Anything Goes Project, and tonight we have a special treat for you. This is going to be something a little bit different. You're not going to hear me. That's a good thing, I think. But what you are going to hear is a webinar that I was invited to again with Otakara and her husband, Jeremy. They're two of the, they own one of the largest hemp manufacturing or industrial hemp manufacturing farms in the U.S., and they are big proponents of people learning to grow hemp at their own home so that they could actually get pure extract CBD instead of having to go to these places and buy it. I've gone and done my own research. I've gone and looked at some of these places. We've got a CBD wellness center here in Victoria, Texas. And I went in there and was just checking out prices. And one 60 ml bottle, 16% CBD. It's not even close to being pure extract. It's $450. Just imagine how much extract you can make. One plant can provide one person enough CBD oil for all these different products you can make: salves, suppositories, pills, drops, everything like that, for an entire year. One plant. So with that, I'm going to let Otakara and her husband take over, and we just want you to watch this, be educated, and feel free to share it. We want everybody to know this information. Otakara gives out her information during the show, so you can schedule a phone call with her, and her husband will be more than happy to help you and get you in touch with the people you need to know to find out whether or not the laws in your state will accommodate you growing your own industrial grade hemp for CBD purposes. Or would you have to get a license to grow it medicinally, and so on. But this is some of the stuff that they want to discuss during this particular webinar. So with that, guys, I'm out. Enjoy the webinar.
I'm Otakara, so you guys might know us. I'll have my husband to introduce a little more himself, because he's the true hemp cannabis. It's pretty much the same plant star. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So this plant has had a hold of me for a long time. So I've been working with the cannabis plant for 27 years, and directly, and more specifically with broad spectrum cannabinoids and CBD in the last, say, 10 to 12 years now, and in Oregon here with the medical program.
Let me just get to...
Okay, so yeah, so as you see on the picture, and forgive me, this isn't something that I do every day, is do these webinars. I'm more of a farmer, but we do see the importance of getting the education about CBD and cannabinoids in general out to the public, and so that's why we're here, and my brilliant wife has brought me here. But yes, I'm the founder of Davis Farms, which is a company that worked through the medical industry here in Oregon since 2007, and then was further developed specifically into CBD production in like 2014, 15, and then we've worked through helping the hemp legislation in the state of Oregon, and then have been active in the program here as hemp for CBD production specifically, or cannabinoid production, has come online in the last 4 years. And I've been fortunate to impact a number of people with CBD. And I guess my background, looking at the slide here, is, when I was younger, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity in just seeking a way out, recognizing the value of the plant, but seeking a way out of the traditional black market, if you will. I was fortunate enough to come across the opportunity to work in Switzerland with the Swiss Medical Hemp Foundation in 1997 and 1998. And that was, I think, the first time that I was really turned on to the value of cannabis and what it can do for people. And since then, I think I've just been on a mission. And that mission led us all the way to the next slide that you're seeing in 2015, when, as I say, we had really come online with the CBD, and our brand was being well recognized. And we had a unique thing happen here in Oregon where I think there were about 70,000 patients in the state of Oregon at the time, maybe 60,000 patients that were registered in the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program when we passed the legislation for recreational cannabis to come online. And our farm had been providing 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 10-to-1 CBD THC strains, the ratio strains to patients for quite a long time. And we had developed some really nice strains. And I think there were a number of people that were quite dependent on them. And what ended up happening is that the recreational dispensaries that were coming online made a decision that there wasn't going to be any value in them providing CBD for patients, that they felt that the recreational market was going to push out CBD, and that THC was all that they wanted to shelve. And we actually felt that was really irresponsible, because although I think a number of the patients in the program were really looking at the program for the benefits of THC and to be able to consume THC on a somewhat recreational basis, if you will. That's an interesting word.
It was an interesting time. I'm sorry for jumping in words, but I totally remember this time when CBD was barely recognized, because at the time, when you think of all the entire prohibition that happened, so at that time, there was basically two kinds of hemp or cannabis plant that was saved. One was for the fiber, and that was the hemp for fiber. And then on the black market was saved the cannabis plant for THC, for people using THC. But the even recognition for CBD just didn't exist. And at the time, nobody really saw it. So I was really proud of Jeremy to push it forward, and like coming to these dispensaries and telling the people, like, you guys don't want to do it, we'll save some people and we'll give it away.
And I don't want to ramble about it, but just to really wrap the point up, what ended up happening is that they were barring the CBD from the marketplace. And this is referencing this slide that you're looking at. And we knew that there were, at least a few thousand patients in this program that had become really dependent. Dependent isn't the right word, who had seen a great benefit from CBD in their lives. And so what we did is that we kind of put it out there through our social media platforms, and through, as you see, these magazines that we had good access to in the state of Oregon. This is an article from the Oregon Leaf in particular, that we were going to provide this medicine for these patients free of charge or a limited charge until the dispensaries started to carry CBD again. Now, I mean, here we are in 2019, and you guys are aware of CBD, and this almost seems ludicrous to think about, but this is actually what happened. These guys pushed this out of their retail marketplace. And so we offered this to patients, and at first we shifted a third of our production to this program. And within a month, we recognized the thirst for this. And so we ended up shifting all of our production to this program. And I mean, the stories that that we had from that, and the support that we got was just overwhelming, and of course a lot of tear jerkers through that process. But the point is that that just all of these things, these circumstances, really embedded this importance, this the value of getting this out into the people's hands, because it's such a simple thing to produce, and it's really such an easy thing and such a powerful medicine for so many different conditions. And so I guess, I'll hand it over to her, but it was really her that kind of created this idea. My beautiful wife, Kara Otakara here, that she said, look, we've been impacting so many people. Wouldn't it be nice to show people, a little bit about how you can do this on your own, and maybe give people just a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of support, that push, that if you're on the fence and you're thinking about the value of CBD and the cost of it in the marketplace, and some of these components that are kind of barring you from really having good access or quality of medicine, that you would maybe, this would kind of get you over the edge and maybe get you involved and want to do this. So I'll turn it over to her, my beautiful wife.
All right. Thank you. Well, I have to say I'm very proud of Jeremy, that besides of recognizing the value of CBD, he actually took hold of the plants and he cultivated his own strain. So we have the whole our own strain lines of currently 11 breeds, working on more, that are extremely low in THC. So they pass the hemp bill to be the industrial hemp, but they are really, really high in CBD. And so they are used specifically for the CBD production. And, it's been a process. It's been multiple years. He's been working on these plants for multiple years to get to where we are. You can see one of our greenhouses behind me in the picture there. So these are young ladies behind me in the plant. And so I'm really happy Jeremy not only seen the value of CBD, but creating his own strains. And because he created his own strains and got all these things that ended up being lab tested, I'm very proud of him, working now with multiple universities on big studies and things. So he's very much right there with all the science and with everything that right now there is to know. And we can just say all we know right now is just the tip of the iceberg, that I'm sure within the next 10 years, in a decade, we're going to know a lot more. But we already know that CBD and many other cannabinoids are just amazing because of our own endocannabinoid system. But I'll take the little quick moment to introduce myself here too. So I am much more at home. I'm an author, I'm a writer. So I wrote a book, Hear Your Body Whisper, How to Unlock Your Self-Healing Mechanism. So I've always been interested into helping people to help their own bodies and help their own ways to heal themselves first, like to seek the help within themselves before they seek it anywhere else. And I always believed in a power that you can love yourself more than anyone else, and any doctor would ever want to help you, or any healer or anyone else, that you are yourself your first source to look after yourself. And so when this idea came together, was to work with my husband on something that really goes along with my idea in Hear Your Body Whisperer, that you can definitely take responsibility for your health in your own hands and do a wonderful job. So I spoke on a subject in many places. You can see me in a lot of some podcasts. So you guys can definitely know a little more. It is a book cover of the Hear Your Body Whisperer, if you guys are ever interested into checking it out. And here we are with our beautiful daughter. I just wanted to say that pretty much our mission right now is to really help you to put the power in your hands to be able to work with CBD and grow your own CBD yourself, because I think it's much better idea than that to have, instead of having one farmer growing 1,000 plants, to have 1,000 people growing single plant for themselves at home. And so basically that's what we would like to gift you, if we can, from this webinar. And so I wanted to, or maybe this would be a good place to give it back.
You can start onto this. We'll share it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start in on this one for sure.
All right. So, like, this industry is pretty new, but it's kind of obvious to everyone in here because, like, 15 years ago, there was nothing in it. The industry didn't exist. And even once cannabis started to become legal for medical reasons, again, CBD was kind of the forgotten child, was the Cinderella of the whole, of the whole family. But nobody really paid attention to it until the research started going into it, until people were looking for medicine that came out of the cannabis plant that was not intoxicating, that they didn't have an effect of THC, and that had a little different effects. CBD has a little different effect and actually works with more receptors in a body because it works with the CB2 receptors that's actually throughout the entire body. And so the CBD started to have a little more attention. So last year, CBD alone in the United States generated about $600 million. And it's growing on an incredible scale. At this moment, CBD is totally crushing THC into what are people looking for as far as their health, in a value, and where is it used. The CBD is far outperforming anyone seeking THC. And so the value in it, it's predicted to be $22 billion in 2022.
In the regulatory structure, it's obviously has a lot to do with that. The fact that, we now have the hemp bill, the farm bill, excuse me, from 2019, or 2018. Wow, time is going quick. which is opening the door for us to be able to, to produce CBD in 50 states under programs. So now we have states that are coming online. The scale at which you can produce CBD is obviously a lot larger than THC. These THC programs in these rec states are limited in their square footage of production, where most of the hemp production for CBD is at a very large scale. And so I guess that leads us to kind of this slide here, which is, I think, part of why we want to give you this nudge and we want to encourage you, because this industry is in its infancy. It's in preschool and it's moving to kindergarten, maybe in the next year or two, but it's got a long way to go before it graduates into a real industry. It's fledgling. And part of that is that, because it's got such a high value, this crop does, and I don't know how in tune people are with what the hemp farming industry is developing as right now, or CBD isolate and that industry and marketplace, but it's just happening fast. And so you have a lot of farmers that are jumping on board that really don't know what they're doing, and they're producing at a very large scale. And so, the degradation of the product, the handling of the product, in some cases, it's just not at a level that you would like to see it, or that you're capable of producing it yourself. And so, that's kind of a primer for why we'd like to help you to get this done.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's an interesting one. When we talk about high CBD strains and coming across them, they are becoming more prevalent. You can find seed on the marketplace. You can, in some cases, if you're in a legal state, occasionally find a clean cutting that would be a high CBD variety, but would be below 0.3 THC. And the reason being is that this is still, when we're talking about CBD producing plants, these are still, drug-based cultivars that are producing resin. So as we were developing drug-based cultivars and hybridizing them in the States through the black market, and then as the industry was developing in other countries like Holland, people were looking for the intoxicating effects, and we weren't running these things through chromatography equipment like HPLC or GCMSs, where we were able to test the cannabinoids and other compounds that were in it. And so that naturally a guy would consume that. It wouldn't give them the effect that they wanted, and those strains were discarded. And so we really had to search and go back into land-raised genetics or older varieties to find these high CBD genetics. And so they are relatively rare still, but becoming more prevalent.
Um, yeah, okay.
Okay. So, and again, we just touched on this a second ago, but following the slides and trying to, of course, stay organic with you guys. You know, we talk about the reasons why you would want to do this, and obviously quality. When we're looking at the product that's put out there, most of the product that's grown at a field scale is grown for isolate derivatives. So what they're doing is they're taking that product, they're doing large volume ethanol wash on it, and then they're running it to distill it down further from a crude oil, and then usually doing a second solvent wash on it to push out anything else and crystallize just the CBD. Well, the first thing is that, you know, learning about the endocannabinoid system and understanding the efficacy of CBD in particular, we've learned that when you isolate it, it actually has a lot lower impact on the human body. And because of regulatory issues and the cleanliness of the product, you know, when I say regulatory, moving the product from state to state without having any problems or questions about THC content, it's easier to move an isolate. So, you know, because of the nature of the bulk quantities and the nature of the regulatory structure, most of these products that you would buy on the shelf are from isolate derivatives. And isolate derivatives just do not have the same quality as a full spectrum. And so,
And sometimes they actually, I was gonna say that sometimes what they call it either full spectrum or they call it something else. I don't know.
broad spectrum, maybe? Or,
yeah, I think so. Yeah, broad spectrum. But they actually reintroduce, they do the isolate and then they reintroduce the other spectrum, the other cannabinoids back in or shoot in the terpenes back later on. So, and in that moment, you're getting the full spectrum on the cover that it can say it again because they reintroduce it back, but it's not that it was originally sourced that way. So it's a little different than if you do it at home yourself. Also, like if you grow your own plant, you're gonna cut and use and dry only the parts that are that you're gonna source the CBD out of, whereas what happens on a large scale field that they kind of take the entire plant and kind of it gets all shredded in the entire, they call it biomass, or the plant biomass. And it's definitely not the same thing because it makes full sense because it's on a huge scale. They really cannot give a proper breakdown of each individual plant. So the entire, from the very beginning, from the harvesting moment, the plant is not getting the same.
They're growing it for money. Bottom line, we can just put it that way. I think we're all intelligent enough to understand that, you know, when you're letting, you know, the money be the byproduct of the great work that you do, you do things differently. You do things with intention. So essentially, that's where we are when we talk about quality. And I think that the industry will grow up. I think that the FDA, for better or for worse, will put some good regulation in place that will kind of increase the quality of the product. And I think that also the consumer will become more aware and demand a superior product. But for now, right now, today, I have to tell you that you can likely, if you're in a legal state where there's nothing barring you from doing this, and you can grow your plants in your backyard, you can likely on your own with the right cultivars produce well, not likely, you can produce a higher quality product than 75 to 80% of what you would find on the shelf. And you can certainly save yourself a lot of money if you were going to compare it to buying that last 20%, the real products, the not snake oil that's on the shelf. So now, I guess when we talk about natural health and support, I don't know. I'm really interested to get into the Q&A here towards the end and discuss like what people know and what people have seen and the benefits that they have from CBD. But bottom line is that, you know, we're talking about a compound that engages with an endogenous system that we have, a system that's already existing in our body. A system with, when it comes to CBD, that is, you know, really important for inflammation. And the more we know about inflammation, you know, having a powerful anti-inflammatory is really beneficial to helping the body to naturally fight off disease. And so when we talk about natural health support, this is a compound that really does engage with the body, and at the very least helps us to naturally to avoid a lot of diseases that are out there. And we know that it, as far as from the symptom-based side, as we talk about the autistic anxiety, and on and on and on, this plant really does have some incredible symptom benefits as well, and with no real damage to the human body. No damage to the liver. It just interacts naturally with the CB2.
It's very impressive because we do have, like, versus many other plants, we do have our own endocannabinoid system in our body. So our body was actually like preset and creates its own cannabinoids, and this plant creates cannabinoids. So then we have already receptors, we have neurotransmitters that works with the synapses same way as it does with the cannabinoids derived out of cannabis or hemp. So it's something that we are set since the very beginning, and what I always find one of the most fascinating thing I find about it is that in Israel and University of Israel, they discovered that as soon as we can detect an embryo, like the very first detection of embryo, that the egg is fertilized, we can detect endocannabinoid system. It's the very first system that is actually detected in the embryo itself. Out of endocannabinoid system, we build a human being. So it's kind of, to me, in my mind, similar thing to like stem cells. Like everything grows out of it. Our entire brain is grown out of our endocannabinoid system. Endocannabinoid system builds the brain as the baby's growing inside the body. So, and then it gets more cannabinoids in mother's milk during the nursing, but like the actual process of growing the baby inside the body, like the actual being is grown out of endocannabinoids. And so that can answer also the question that sometimes people go like, why would you think that CBD, that one single compound, can cure so many things in our body? Well, it can cure so many things in our body because it built so many things in our body. It's the builder, and that's why, because it's kind of like the stem cell that can work with so many organs, and so does the CBD. So
she does this. She's blowing my mind right now. She blows my mind on a daily basis. But it's true. What she's saying is absolutely true. This is a really powerful thing, and people should have it in their hands. And I think, what we'll show you here in the next, as we'll get to this, we just want to go through a few steps to help you feel comfortable to produce, and then we'd like to also offer ourselves as here as a resource for a phone call, if you guys would like to schedule a phone call and discuss any concerns that you might have. But I would say that we're talking about the high CBD, the low 0.3 THC plants, one, because the regulatory structure, should be broader. You should be able to do that in more states than you would just THC. But I want to make sure that you know that what we're about to show you, you can do with 1-to-1 CBD, so equal amounts to CBD THC ratios, which are beneficial for a lot of different things, 2-to-1s, 10-to-1s. And then, of course, all the way, the plants that we're talking about are generally around a 30-to-1 ratio, so that when you make these oils out of them, the THC concentrate is low enough that, it's not an intoxicating product. And furthermore, when you're growing the plants outdoors, they're federally legal as far as the CBD requirement. Now, you have to look into your local Department of Agriculture, what the regulations might be if you're in a non-legal state. But, you can run these under medical program. If you're in a medical state, you can certainly run them under your recreational program if your state is like Oregon and has a 4-plant or some count for your personal grow. And I believe in some states that you will be able to exceed the requirements under their departments of ag to grow a few plants for yourself, because it seems to me, and we work with the departments of ag a lot because we're pushing a high volume of hemp genetics out into the marketplace. These guys are conducive to and supportive of the development of this and as an agricultural commodity.
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about like real quickly while we have you here. Definitely stick around because now we can talk about a little bit what it will take for you to grow. We'll focus on the three main things, and the first one was basically like Jeremy said here is would be to make sure that in your state, what are the requirements? The chances are that you can have the chance to grow completely legally. In some places, you might have to obtain a license to do it at home, but because you would be doing it at like the home things, it's not really that complicated to get the license. If you have to, some states, in some states you can have the license. There are a few states that are not the best, so definitely make sure you check with that. And if you guys are more interested, we will definitely be able to offer you some guidance later on. But let's just get into what you basically, let's just stop leave the politics and get into actually the fun part, the beautiful part, and see if you have a green thumb and what you need so that when you try, it doesn't die and you can do it, because it's a beautiful plant.
It's a tough plant.
It's a tough plant. You're going to be growing mama, you're not going to be growing guys, so the women are tough, right? So well, anyway, the women are tough, so the female plant is tough. You can do it. I believe in you. We both believe in you that you can do it. So let's run through the few things you actually do need to start. It's not much, but there are a few basic requirements you need in order to start growing. Take over.
Sure. I mean, just going through here, like she says, you need to be up. This is a seasonal plant. It's photo period dependent. You can plant it quite late. You can plant it after June 21st. You can plant it all the way up to in most regions around the 45th parallel to like July 5th, July 8th, and still have a sizable plant that will flower with and give you a decent amount of CBD. But essentially 5 months is what you're looking at. And so it doesn't mean that you need to be around every day. You certainly just need to be around for watering. You can do all kinds of creative things for watering even. But if you can put a few hours of care into your plant every few days, or maybe 6 or 7 hours a week as it's developing, you'll be able to do this. And each plant needs about a 3x3 space to grow. So you're going to want to have a deck, a private area somewhere, your backyard, your garden area. And we believe that because the plant has been negatively stigmatized for so long, and when you're growing a CBD plant, that your neighbors, they're not going to understand and know that that's not a THC plant, or the neighbor kids. So it's sometimes good to have a relatively private area to be doing it in. But you can do them in containers. You can do them in ground. You can do them in your little personal hobby greenhouses. You can do them right outdoors in your garden. You just really need to be looking kind of for an area that's not going to have a really hard freeze before, like, say, October 5th, October 10th, somewhere in that area. Some of these plants you can find will finish a little bit earlier, like in late September, but kind of just as a general rule of thumb, you want to find a place that, or provide a place that doesn't have a killing frost up until, say, the 5th or 10th of October.
It's reasonably sunny, I would say, that we don't have them here. Right? So the plant doesn't want to be in a completely shaded area.
Yep.
So.
Okay, and so climate, hemp is a tough plant. And cannabis is a tough plant. It's very resilient. It's obviously, just as much as it's evolved to be this intelligent and work with our body, it's evolved to protect itself from environmental influence. So you're capable of growing this in the dry desert. We live at 4,200 feet, and if we provide a little bit of a cold frame, then we can easily grow cannabis out here, without any struggles. And we live in the high desert, so we see temperatures that are 100 and 105 degrees, and we see, humidity's down at 10%, and we have no problem growing it. Same with the other side. If you live in, like, Lincoln City is a perfect example. You guys are going to get hammered with, some October rain. I say some October rain on the North Coast. You guys know.
You know, some occasional sunshine. Maybe have some
Right.
occasional sunshine between the rain.
And the plant can be, depending on the strains that you select, the plant can be relatively impervious to mildew as well. You know, but dealing with frost is the last thing. There are so many ways that a gardener can deal with frost. And if you're just prepared to have a little bit of cold frame or a little bit of weather protection, in the case of, say, a bunch of rain in Lincoln City, you can easily fly through the season and not have a problem with the plant. And because, you know, I shouldn't say because, if your end product is, which we are intending the program to be for, to produce CBD oil, you don't have to have as high a quality of flower finished. So you're not looking for a connoisseur grade, you know, high terpene flower. When you're making the CBD oil, you're going to probably use a non-polar solvent, and if you're going to make the oil yourself, or use something that's really going to just strip the CBD away and not be so concerned about the beauty and glory of the flower. And it's hard for me to say that because I love the beauty and glory of the cannabis plant. But yeah, point being is you can get away with this in most places. We have product in you know, Vermont, we have product in Saskatchewan, we've got product in Oklahoma, we've got product in Colorado, Arizona. We've got product up to 7,000 feet in Colorado this season. So it's a pretty diverse and tough plant. And, you know, if you look around, farmers are doing it in just about every microclimate and bioregion.
And then what we can grow from.
Okay, yeah. So now we're going to dive into kind of the, you know, if you've got the right place to do it and you know the regulatory structure will allow you to do it, then, you know, there are a few different ways that you can source plants. And those people that are familiar with cannabis knows that it's a little bit unique in that clones are a common source of genetic material. You know, and clones are great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with clones. If you live in a state that has dispensaries and you can access high CBD clones, that can be a wonderful way for you to get started. But we certainly want you to know the difference, you know, between a clone and a seed. And so in starting out, we'll discuss the pros and cons of clones. The pro, it's going to be a lady. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. And this plant is a unique plant in that it is dioecious. If you're coming from a seed, you can have males and females, right? So your clone is going to be a lady, and she's probably going to be stable, which that's another thing that happens with cannabis plants is they can be hermaphroditic. Talk about an intelligent plant. It can be anything. So when you've got a clone, generally speaking, you've had a breeder or a grower who's gone through that. They've mothered it out, they've stabilized it, and then they've put their stamp on it and validated and verified that it is something that's worth growing. So that's a benefit of getting a clone. Plant's already established when you get a clone. It's going to have roots coming out of it. It's going to kind of be like a little teenager, if you will, ready to go, ready to shoot up and ready to do its thing. It's also going to be a mixture of its mom. A clone is going to be, other than if the clone was taken from weak genetic material, it can lose a little bit of the vigor that it can get from its mother. But as far as like, you know, cannabinoid profile, you know, terpene profile, basic growth structure and traits, it's going to be a mirror image of its mother. Now, the cons of clones, then that's pretty simple. If you're a clean gardener, and you really don't want to introduce pests or pathogens or virus into your garden or your environment, or you don't want to deal with, and the fact that these plants can be worth a fair amount of money, is that people are sort of pushing out, propagating inferior clones. And you've got a whole plethora of pests that you just do not want in your garden. So you're talking about russet mites, root aphids, spider mites, and you know, these soft-bodied insects are a problem. But you know, what happens is these plants also become compromised, and they have, you know, powdery mildew is a common one. You know, they have pathogens and viruses, and you can't see those pathogens and viruses even if somebody sprayed the heck out of the plant. So there are a few companies like Steep Hill in California, for our Californian people, that are doing viral assaying on clones, you know, but it is expensive. And so you'd want to look to the provider to say, hey, if you guys are selling 1,000 of these things, can you provide the viral assay on them so that you guys are protected from that? That way, you're not going to have to use pesticides or fungicides. You're not going to get caught in a cycle of trying to clean your garden. And if you're introducing this into your yard or your sacred place, you know, where you grow other things, food for your family and such, you're not going to end up bringing some other problems in there.
And unfortunately, I'd say even just being on a side of it, that what we've seen from other farmers, it's far more common than not. I think it's more likely to happen that it's not, and it's very likely to happen that whoever sells you the clone will tell you there is nothing wrong with the clone. That's an unfortunate thing that pretty much happens all the time with it. And maybe they are even sure because they can see a lot of time themselves and they are not familiar with the product or the plant, what it's supposed to be like later on, and they don't know what either the fungus or the virus or the mites, what it can do. So sometimes they're actually so, I don't want to even necessarily say negligent, perfect blend for you.
Not trying to villainize anybody, but the industry is in its infancy, and these people that are on the retail end may not understand what they're doing. So this is essentially where we're at with clones. And you know, I would say that, you can click to the next slide, we can talk about seeds. And I would say that this is why, and what we do primarily now at this point is we produce seed. So we create seed for feminized seed for farmers at scale.
Say what feminized seed is for those that don't know what a feminized seed is.
Well, feminized seed is obviously, the name implies, but is seed that you will not see a male seed in the germination. And so when a farmer is planting a field of transplants or seed with a seed drill, they can't afford to have all those holes. They can't afford the input cost. And so it becomes really valuable for them to have feminized seed that they just know will not have a male no matter how many they put out there. And so there are a very low quantity of males. I count myself there. You know, we're about 1 in 4,000, 1 in 4,500, which is, they call that feminized or 100% feminized. It's not quite there. But the idea being you're giving the farmer a tool so that they don't struggle. Now, being a seed producer, what we've recognized is that, and we start, everything in our facility is done from seed, because we can't bring in compromised genetics. Even if we clean a genetic and it has this imprint of the virus or pathogen, what happens is these viruses and pathogens are super intelligent, and they can't carry themselves forward into the genetic code of the seed, but what they can do is they can carry a predisposition for that problem into the seed. So they can make the plant that comes from the seed more predisposed to accepting that virus or pathogen when it's exposed to it later. And so being acutely aware of this as we are, we understand the danger of bringing clones in and the value of working with seed, just because you want that kind of vigor, you want that kind of strength. So there's my pitch for seed and why we understand and how far we go to try and avoid that pathogen virus component of these genetics. So further, talk about pros of seed. Seed has a taproot. Seed has seed vigor. First generation vigor far outweighs clones in most cases, especially a clone that's gone through that process of stability. It's usually gone through several generations of life, and you just don't see that same kind of vigor that newborn seed is going to put out. And obviously the second component being what we just discussed. Guaranteed clean and healthy. You're not going to start out with a problem that you're going to be chasing your tail on. Now, seeds can be harder to find, but with this beautiful internet that we have, usually you guys can source seed. That's another thing that we would be happy to talk about with the knowledge that we have on the phone call, is some of the more responsible resources for seed that we know. And we're in a position where we're selling seeds by the pound, so we're not, selling seeds at this volume, but we know people that are selling, or it can lead you into the direction of people that are selling 10 packs or 5 packs or the type of quantity of seed that you guys would want for this type of a project.
Right, and you can definitely find, so we don't have you don't run into the con of having to recognize male from female. Yep. You can find these feminized seeds on the market, so that con can be taken away. If you start off with a feminized seed, meaning you already know, the farmer knows ahead of the time that the seed will grow into female plant, because the male plant does not have CBD, doesn't have the cannabinoids we're looking for.
Right.
So
yeah, and the germination factor, obviously, the con is that, you know, a seed it takes a little bit of time. When you get a clone, you're getting that plant that is basically, you know, parallel to a seed that's 2.5 to 3 weeks developed.
oh yeah, and here, how did I? Okay, there how I go back to it.
Okay, so
if you ended up having to sex the plant, these are beautiful two pictures of the female, the flower of the female, and a flower of the male part in it.
Yep. If you ever get that far and you get the one on the right, oops.
That's the boy. That's the pretty boy. And let me just stop the share here, and so we can. Okay, so we here, and let me right now finally have a look a little bit into. We didn't have a chance to look into the chat.
Okay, a couple more comments. Yeah, so perfect. Yeah, Idaho has been one of the most resistant states, unfortunately, but I think that they're developing a program now. And this is something that we'd be happy to look into for you. I do a lot of work, like I said, with the departments of ag, and they're kind of the leaders of the program putting these together. So yeah, we would be happy if you wanted to jump on the phone later on. I think she's going to do a Calendly link, and we're going to give you the opportunity to kind of schedule a call with us to ask any specific questions that you might have about, you know, any of these things.
Mm-hmm. Can you use lights? There is a question.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use lights. I mean, we're talking about this right now because we're at this perfect juncture where you can put these seeds in the ground and bang, you can follow them through the season and you know, harvest your own CBD. But yeah, you can do this indoors under lights, or you can do it under lights in your greenhouse with photoperiod extension or manipulation. So absolutely.
I'm trying to look here in a little technical things on a webinar, because I saw we have a Jen here, and she is someone we know from the Lincoln City, who we know and who we work with the medicine, and she had a chance to use some of our medicine. So I think, Jen, you should be, if you're here still, you should be able to unmute yourself if you go in the thing to unmute yourself, because I would really love to, if we can talk to you.
And while we're waiting, if you want to, anybody else wants to make a comment, ask
a question right now, I would say
just definitely to get started. So, you know, we'd be happy to discuss, I mean, further about how you're going to germinate seed, about, you know, some of the basic nuances of even fertigation or type of soil amendments that you might need, although this stuff is really simple, to be honest with you. And so, I mean, I guess what we'd really like to do is give you the comfort. So if there's anything that we can do to give you the comfort, or if anybody has any stories, I mean, a lot of us have had some great experiences with it. And, you know, if there are people on here that could benefit from your story that don't have the experiences with it, I mean, we're still at a time when people are waking up to this. So feel free to share anything.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. Jen, are you there? I'm trying to see if I can. I think you have to mute yourself.
I hear.
And now you have a mute on again. Unmute.
Now can you hear?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
So sorry. All right.
Can other people hear?
Hello?
I hope so. Can somebody else who's watching us live let us know that you can hear Jen?
Great.
Awesome.
Okay,
Can they hear? Okay.
Okay. So yeah, Jen, you had a chance, and I'd love to talk to you here just so you can.
How has it benefited you, Jen?
You and your family, because I know you use it for more.
Yes, I do. Absolutely. Little quick background. My name's Jan Caro. I'm 58 years old. I grow on the Oregon coast, which is challenging, I thought, but not so much. My background was I was a hospital corpsman, so I was part of the Western medicine. And I'm a small business owner now. I have zero background in CBD growing, let alone processing from seed to medication. If I can do it, literally anyone can do it, because I didn't know what I was doing. So Cara and Jeremy are longtime friends. They held my hand from seed to medication. My father was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma. He applies it every night, and he keeps it at bay for 3 years, and he's 93 years old. I have arthritis in my hands, 3 years at bay, stopped the pain and progression. I was diagnosed with a hypothyroid. My doctor recommended medication. I refused. I rubbed the cream over my thyroid for months. The next physical I had, I was told my thyroid levels were normal. My husband, he has colitis. I made suppositories. He uses the suppositories the moment the symptoms come on. It stops it at bay in 3 days, and he's back to normal. He doesn't go to the hospital any longer. It works for my headaches and my husband's back pain. And an added bonus, which I love, I've been told that people say my skin look younger. So that's kind of nice.
You look
I just want to
amazing.
thank
I have to
Jeremy
say,
and
we don't
Cara.
see it, but you do look amazing.
And you grew that, you grew that all yourself.
Yes.
You made the oil all yourself.
Yes.
And you made all the products yourself, right, Jan?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there
Literally
you go.
from seed to medication. And you guys held my hand through the whole process, and I am forever grateful. You've helped my family, other friends, because I give them the cream, and it helps them as well. So you're helping a whole community here. So I thank you so much, you guys. You mean so much to me.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
You bet.
Thank you.
And this is what we've been doing for years, because we see the power of this and we want to share it. That's really, there's no other primer for that than this. We just really want to see people, while there's this gap in the development of the industry, while the industry grows up and starts to provide some wonderful products that we know it will, but until they get there, we just like to show people how easy this is and how beneficial this is. I mean, we're seeing ALS, MS, diabetes, seizure disorder, obviously, Parkinson's, neuropathy, arthritis. The list is incredible. The things, obviously, autism. We're seeing incredible things with autism, from really mild to pretty severe, and so just the wealth of things that this is impacting, and we understand why, and we're just starting to understand why, and so we just want to share that with people. And if there's anything that we can do to help you guys feel comfortable, please get on Calendly.
And yeah, I was gonna offer you guys, if we can, I just want to offer you a free phone call. So let me type in a chat. I hope I have the link. Yeah. So right there. Oh no, it says it's only 2 Jan. So okay, I gotta do everyone. Okay. Let me put it in here. Okay, so you guys should have, if you look into the chat right now, you should have there a link. If you click on a link, it will open up my calendars, and you can set a free phone call. It's not gonna cost you anything, where we can talk about exactly where you are as far as your location, because of any kind of political reasons, because of growing reasons. Wherever you are in a perfect time to start. So if you're ready to, when we have the message I gave Otakara in the inside scope, it's some more research, and our CBD Wellness Center is selling 60 milliliter bottle, 16% CBD for $450. Wow, that's crazy. That's almost insane. $450. So yeah, if you guys are looking for something that you really needed, I think this is what the prices are kind of outrageous. If you, let's say, like, you would be parent dealing with a kid who's got daily seizures, it's very hard to afford for someone who probably already has limited opportunity to make money, because they either have to take care of their health or their loved ones, to be spending this amount of money to help them. So I definitely think
it's cost prohibitive. And if that product there is made from an isolate derivative, like we talked about. The efficacy is low. You're not going to get the impact. So you're spending a lot of money, and then it can be very cost prohibitive. So
right, but
again,
thank you for bringing it out there. So anyway, the prices are crazy, and each plant can save you about $2,500. I'd say on average, depending how well you grow. But so if you can grow 4 plants, you can basically get yourself $10,000 worth of CBD yourself at home. And so, definitely believe more power to you. So please, guys, get on a Calendly link. I'll be more than happy to hop on a call with you. It's a free phone call. You don't have to pay anything, just like this webinar was free. And we can talk about and assess your own personal situation, where you at, how you could, if you need some help sourcing either seed or clone or whatever would be the best thing for you to do. I know I had people who asked me before if they can grow on a balcony, if they have a sunny balcony, if they can grow on a balcony. So we can definitely look into your very own situation. So
And before we sign off, I want to make sure that everybody understands that when she's talking about, the $10,000 worth of product, that we're talking about value-added products, and what we'd like to show you how to do. And I mean, you can learn this on YouTube. That's the world we live in, So what we'd like to show you to do, or just give you the little bit of support that you need to do, is to create the base crude oil, the base CBD oil that these value-added products are made with. So I want to be clear that you can make ingestible oil, you can make suppositories, you can make salves and creams. You can make any product out of this oil that you guys are seeing on the shelf. You can make tinctures out of it, glycerin-based or alcohol-based. So this is the base crude oil that we'd like to help you to make, that all of these products that are quality products are made with. And it's a full extract cannabis oil that we'd like to help you to learn how to make.
Yeah, you get definitely the full spectrum. And as you heard Jen here, she's awesome. She really turned it into, from ingestible products to creams to suppositories. So they use it in probably almost every possible avenue I can think of, and benefit from that. And that's easy. Once you have that oil, it's very easy to turn into anything you actually need yourself, and you don't need any kind of super special skills or special labs. All you need is just basically your own kitchen.
So share this with everybody that you guys know. Anybody that you know that may benefit from this, please share this with them. Share the Calendly link. We're going to do this for a very short period of time. I have another independent company, as we talked about, that is doing a lot of work with CBD development, a lot of work with pushing CBD seed out into the marketplace. And so this is just something that we felt that we wanted to do to kind of push back in the direction of supporting, like she said so well in the beginning. We'd rather have we'd rather see 1,000 farmers with one plant than one farmer with 1,000 plants. It just makes more sense right now for the health and well-being of everyone.
Awesome. So if you guys have any question, if anyone is growing here already and might have some questions that you guys have any kind of anything and just want to push the questions out in here, feel free to put it in a chat box, because we'll wrap up here. If you have some questions you rather discuss on a personal level, or definitely if you have questions that are about your personal situation, again, one more time, there it's in a chat box. You have, it's basically the Calendly. You're welcome, Mary.
You're welcome, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you. It's the calendly.com/Otakara, my first name. So on calendly.com/Otakara, you can go in there. I have spots. I cleared my schedule for these phone calls throughout the next week. I have some spots available tomorrow and Saturday. There are a few spots. So it's just the time to start growing. The only thing is I would ask you to schedule the meeting if you're ready to start this year. So because the season is basically starting now, you have next few weeks, next 2-3 weeks, you'd have to start. So if you're committed to try to do it this year, set up on my Calendly a phone call. It's a free phone call. We can talk about and see how we can help you, how I can help you, how Jeremy can help you, what we can do for you so you can produce this yourself. So you have the power yourself at home. So just wanted to, otherwise I want to say thank you for seeing us.
Thank you for sticking around and watching this, and please don't hesitate to share it. Like we said, I think that people can benefit from what we're trying to bring about.
Thank you, and hope to talk to you later. Bye.
Now, here comes the music.
We want to thank you for tuning in to the Anything Goes project. If you like this show, subscribe and share it. That would greatly help us out. To contact the show, email us at stalkermailbox@gmail.com. We love hearing from our subscribers and our listeners. The Anything Goes project can be found on iTunes, CastBox, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, and many other Android applications. And once again, thanks for listening.